And we're back. I'm Sharon Moses, and you're watching Wasting No Time. The do's and don'ts of curbside recycling. That's what we're talking about today. When I have questions about recycling, Ed Zilton is the person I call. So I invited Ed here to talk to us about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and why it's important to know the difference. Thanks again, Ed, for staying.
Sure.
So can all plastics be recycled?
Plastics that are recyclable are plastics numbers 1 through 5 and number 7s. Okay, and you can note those usually on the bottom of your plastic recyclable. It has a dancing triangles with the number in the middle of those triangles that identifies that for you.
Now let me ask you this: just because it has a number, does that number alone signify that we can put it in the green carts?
Yes, if it has a number and it has that number 1 through 5 or number 7, then it's safe to be put in our single stream
It doesn't
cart.
matter the shape or size?
Shape or size, no ma'am.
Okay.
That's correct.
So actually the recycling industry, I think, is changing, because I know at some point when I first started that wasn't the case, but things are changing to where the numbers, they do matter and they're relevant enough to say it's recyclable.
Yes, that's correct.
And what about glass? I remember when I first started recycling, we had to separate clear, brown, green. Are we still doing that in the single stream?
Okay, now in single stream, we're not separating our clears from our browns and our greens, but we are still segregating those at our drop-off centers, because a clear brings a certain amount to the market, brown and green. There's a certain amount of paid or levels of payment in the value of those glasses depending on the color. But as for our single stream, we can go ahead and single stream them in all in one.
So if I'm at home recycling curbside, it doesn't matter. Just toss it in the cart. But if I'm going to take it somewhere, do I need to segregate it, or they'll segregate it at the center?
You can bring it in, they will segregate it at the facility for you. Now, if you go to our unmanned facilities, for instance, our neighborhood depositories, we have roll-off boxes there, but we have notes there that will direct you to where the material needs to be placed at.
And let's talk about that. If you curbside recycling, but if there's something that you don't put into the cart, but it is recyclable, how do I dispose of it? For instance, a household battery, or for instance, a can of paint.
Okay, when you talk about household batteries, cans of paint, whether it be lead-based or water-based, we can accept those over our Environmental Service Center. Environmental Service Center, as well as the West Park Recycling Facility. There we have specific type of storage, hazmat units there that we have to go through a process of segregating and storing those type of materials. We don't want to put those materials in our single stream, because those can compromise the value of, say, for instance, our newspaper print, our cardboard. So we want to keep those out of the single stream, but there are recyclable materials, and you can bring them to our drop-offs or the West Park Recycling
Hazardous
Center.
waste, I would think, would probably be a problem in those carts as well, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So you want to be careful about...
Yeah, you want to be careful to make sure the contents in that, because you can start fires and things like that with certain acidities that come from batteries and paint.
What about spacing of the carts? Now, I'm just going to throw that in there. It's slightly different, but it's important, and we have that issue. Can you address that and how that affects the pickup?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that we are matching our green carts with our black carts, we have the same amount of material there, same amount of carts now that we've gone citywide. We ask that we do our standard 2 to 3 feet placing between the carts. We ask that you don't put the carts, either the green or black, in front of that, so when our operators come around, they can easily grab the cart, service the cart, and place it back for you conveniently without putting it in the wrong place or blocking the other car for servicing. So
space is important. That every other week you've got to make sure you put that space in between.
That's correct.
So that we can reach. What would you like the citizens to know? And you're a deputy assistant director. We call him Dad. So hi, Dad. But what would you like the citizens to know about recycling? You're on the street. You see what's going on. What would you tell them, and what's important for them to know in your perspective?
I would think the most important thing is getting your cart out to the curb on time. 7 o'clock prior the night before, making sure they're spaced properly. The next thing I would say, making sure you're putting the correct material in there. You're not overloading your carts, not putting trash inside of your recycling carts. These are all the things that I think educationally, over the course of time, we'll get there. I think we're on our way there. Houston has made great strides in that, but these are the kind of on-the-ground foot soldier things that we look for.
So how has the industry changed, the recycling industry, since you've been, I guess, over the division?
Yeah, over the time that I've been in recycling now, it's been a little bit over 11 years, I've seen some great changes in recycling. One, from being where we've been collecting recycling on rear loaders to split bodies. Now we're fully automated, and that's one of the things, we've done all this without invoking an environmental fee or garbage fee. We found innovative ways to sell our commodities at markets through the MRFs. So we've seen big changes in that industry.
Are we heading toward zero waste? Is absolutely everything recyclable?
I think we are, like most major cities, we are targeting a zero waste, even down to taking shredded glass and and put in our landfills to actually use as ground shred to beef up the land surfaces. When we first started, only probably 30-40% of materials that were taken in were considered recycling. Now 75 to 80% of those materials are considered to be recyclables.
Have you noticed a reduction in our garbage pickup?
We are doing that study right now. We're measuring the tonnage there to see. We should have some good physical data. Generally, after the first 90 days, kind of gives us a good feel to see how much recycling tons have gone up and then how much garbage tons have actually gone down.
Okay, so I want to come back to the next segment. I want to go through these products one by one. You can tell me if it's recyclable and if it's not. You be willing to do that for me?
I sure will.
Great. Did you know over 75% of waste is recyclable, but we only recycle about 30% of it? In fact, in Texas, we spend over $1 billion annually for solid waste disposal services. So we are literally throwing our money away. This, of course, prompts me to say, don't throw it away, recycle it. We'll be right back.